going to like a power slap event, it is nothing like an MMA fight. It is nothing like a boxing match. The audience is all like hyped up and drinking and enjoying and eating. It's like a huge party. And then everybody just gets dead silent because someone's about to get hit in the face.
All right, we have Paige VanZant joining us here on the channel. She returns to the Power Slap world October 24th in Abu Dhabi, part of a spectacular UFC 308 fight week. She battles Chelsea Dodson. Paige, how are you?
I am doing great. Thank you. I'm really, really looking forward to this one.
Yes, we're back in the Power Slap game. You got in there the first time in June. You got a couple of knockdowns. You picked up a unanimous decision win. Looking back on it, the adrenaline from the night being a thing of the past, was it what you expected it to be?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the adrenaline, the nerves going into something that's brand new. I will say the easier aspect of it was like the fight week, not having to cut weight, not having, just taking those few elements out of the way, honestly was a breath of fresh air. But for this one, I'm really excited to go do it one more time.
When you are standing there and waiting to be slapped, like what is that like? Because you got hit and then you gave the head shake back to your opponent. That's got to be mental warfare at its finest. But what was that like just waiting for? What was it worse getting hit or just waiting for it to come?
Oh, the anticipation is by far the worst thing. Especially, I kind of wanted to slap second going into my first one, just so I could, one, get amped up by getting hit. You know, you see all these fighters who have their coaches just slap them around, amp them up before they compete. So I was like, all right, I just kind of want to take the first one. And, I slapped her and there was that like ounce of like, dang it, I wish I would have just ended it on the first one. But then you're just like the preparation of like, all right, here we go. And you just bite down on your mouth guard and eat it.
And then you just felt like, you know what? That was so much fun. I got to do it again.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just the whole experience. Like I had so much fun, and going to like a power slap event, it is nothing like an MMA fight. It is nothing like a boxing match. The audience is all like hyped up and drinking and enjoying and eating. It's like a huge party. And then everybody just gets dead silent because someone's about to get hit in the face.
It's so weird. Cause I'm not like a huge power slap guy. Like it's not my thing. Like I'm not a hater on it, and I don't chastise people for watching it and getting into it. It's just not for me. And that's okay. We can't be all things, and we like what we like. Is that something for you that you liked about it? That it was just so different and there's really no gray area towards it? Or did it take time for you to really understand the appeal of it, just kind of being in the mix of it all?
I mean, I understand the appeal. It's competition. I know I can get hit. I know I can take a hit. I know I can give one. So just coming from like the combat sports world, I felt like it was something that I would be good at. It was something that I would be somewhat familiar with as far as like the nuances of just giving and taking, a hit. I think the real draw here is truly going to one live. It's absolutely insane. And that for me was a big like eye opener. Like when I first watched the first few slaps, because of course it's shocking to see it online. They pull in these huge social media numbers for a reason. But when you go to it live, you're like, holy cow, this is insane. Like hearing somebody get hit that hard with a slap is nuts.
Yeah, because you've sort of evolved into like all these different kinds of events, like MMA and then the UFC, and then you go into the boxing world. And I've covered obviously all those different combat sports, but then I covered your fight with Rachel Ostovich for BKFC, and I was just like, this is insane. It was a totally different experience. And now you graduated from BKFC to Power Slap. Like, what other boxes are left to check off for you in that regard?
Oh, who knows? Honestly, with this one, I really didn't know that I would ever compete in Power Slap. My manager called and was like, hey, would you ever do Power Slap? And I was like, well, yeah, I don't see why not. I get hit a lot more in an MMA fight, a lot more in a bare knuckle boxing match than you do. Like you're guaranteed not guaranteed 3 slaps, I guess. But, there's only so many hits you take in Power Slap in comparison to like a boxing match or anything like that. So I don't know. It just seemed exciting, and it was.
Did you think that after the June one that you'd go back to back, Power Slap to Power Slap, or did you think there would be something kind of sandwiched in between?
I had a feeling that I would do it again. I didn't know I would be back-to-back cards, which is super exciting. I didn't truly know their schedule. The timing worked out perfectly for me. My husband competes. He actually fights on the 18th. So we leave tomorrow for him to fight on an LFA card. And we leave straight from New York to Dubai for me to compete. So really for us both being in camp, it's absolutely perfect because we can diet together and then we can eat and celebrate together afterwards.
I know he was at first, because I remember on your podcast, you guys talking about it, and he was just like, what in the world is going on here? Is he better off with it now after experiencing it for the first time?
Yeah, I think it was easier for him to not allow me. He's not my boss, but it was easier for him to jump on board for me to do power slap than bare knuckle boxing. Bare knuckle boxing is absolutely insane. So the first one, he was not sure that he wanted me to do bare knuckle boxing. Just watching some of the prior fights, it is a beast and it is violent and the risk of it cut open is extremely high. So for him to doing power slap, he's like, this is nuts, but he was excited for me to do it the entire time.
The LFA signing for Austin just flew under the radar. Like I was on Facebook randomly and Ron Kruk, I'm friends with on Facebook, was like, yeah, I'm interviewing Austin Vanderford. He's fighting October 18th or 19th. And I'm like, what? What's going on here? So that's exciting news. I knew there was some contract stuff with Bellator and he's out of that, but LFA, that's exciting.
It's huge. It's extremely exciting. They've been around for a very long time. Great promotion. So when the merger happened, he chose to leave and go other directions. Of course, he wants to sign with the UFC inevitably and needed to be active. There he goes. He's cutting weight. So gosh, he signed like 3 contracts for opponents to fight. All of them ended up pulling out or wanting later dates. And it was just like, he's been in camp for like 2 years, just begging and itching to get a fight. LFA came through. They put together an incredible matchup, great opponent. So we are finally here. I don't know how long ago the opponent actually agreed to this. He had signed a few other opponents prior to this, but yeah, it's happening. Fights on the 18th.
This time next year, if we're having the same conversation, are we talking about him getting ready for a UFC fight, in your opinion?
I believe so. Truly, I believe that's where he's meant to be. I think it's everything's leading up to that inevitably. So he's going back down to 170, which I feel like is a better weight class for him. The opportunity in Bellator was he was nudged to go up to 185, which he's not a true 185er. He's a 170er. So going back down to where he's been so incredibly dominant in his entire career is perfect. And it's just, everything's just kind of lining up and I hope the best for him. And I know how hard he works and, the athletes that he trains with and the people that he, competes with in the gym. It's exciting.
You're going to be facing Chelsea Dodson, who I had to do some research. The wife of John Dodson, who was also in the UFC, fought for the belt. Cool? And Dodson's a champion at BKFC now. This is such a small world sport, right? Like, have you ever met Chelsea before?
No, I don't think so. But only because I was such a fan of John's when he was in the UFC. I went and trained. I actually stayed at Donald Cerrone's house on his ranch when I was 18 years old. And I was fortunate enough to train at Jackson. And he was there and couldn't have been more friendly and nice. I think I really just talked to him in passing. And of course, being in the UFC, now BKFC world, it's just a cool experience to see these two worlds colliding.
What are we thinking? Knockout this time? Let's just do the one slap and get out of here. Call it a day. What are we thinking?
That was the plan. I would love that because I need to get on a plane immediately after I compete and fly home and be with my family. So we have our entire family coming up from Alaska to spend time with us. And they actually show up at our house. Their vacation was booked before I signed Power Slap. So I hope Power Slap knows what I'm doing to be on this card. They will be at our house days before we show up just so I can be on Power Slap. But they're going to be waiting for us. The training's been awesome. Really just trying to get stronger, get a little bit more muscle mass, and work on, of course, the techniques, what I can to prepare.
So we're not sticking around for 308, but obviously family comes first. Ilya versus Max, the main event. Tough one for you to miss, but you got to miss it. Who do you like in that fight?
so bummed out, but I will be poolside here in Florida watching that fight with my family. Definitely drinking. But I think in that one, honestly, the fans are the winners. That is going to be an epic fight. And I think this is a fight card that inevitably was meant to happen. The fans want to see it. And with their two styles, the matchup is just, it all leads to an epic war.
Couple last things before I let you go. You mentioned Donald Cerrone, who jumped on Instagram today and is like, you know what? I'm just going to come back and fight these last two fights so I can get to 50. It looks like he's coming out of retirement and is going to fight again for the UFC. Yeah, he did this like 3 or 4 hours ago as we speak. What do you think about this? It's hard to walk away, but Donald's like, you know what? I got 48 promotional fights between WEC and in the UFC. Let's get to 50.
Oh, absolutely. He's cowboy. Like, one, he will forever be a draw and be a trailblazer, one of the greatest of all time to do it. And I think there's incredible matchups for him still in the UFC. So as a fan of his and like knowing him as a person, that is extremely exciting.
By the way, you told this story. I looked at the clip and I meant to like go and watch the whole thing because I was so curious by the whole thing. You told this story on your show with Austin about getting scammed for $1 million. Like someone's going to do work on your house and they had a history. There were felons for being unlicensed and all this other stuff. And you paid them a bunch of money up front. Did anything happen with that? Is there an update? Were there any like repercussions for this guy? Did this get squared away at all? Or are you still in the same spot?
So, gosh, there is like so much to go into on that. It's absolutely crazy. I will say, warning, anybody who comes to Florida, no matter how smart you think you are, there are con artists out there. And it was a whole pyramid scheme of people who conned us. It started up at the top. Our tax accountants recommended a realtor. The realtor recommended the contractor. Well, they were all conning us, all of them. So, yeah, there was a little bit. We obviously won our civil case. We also filed a criminal suit where charges were inevitably brought to him. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we're taking steps forward, I guess, and it's an unfortunate situation, but the fortunate thing for you is you're heading to Abu Dhabi. You're going to slap Chelsea Dodson and maybe she'll have the opportunity to slap you back and it should be fun. So thank you for the time. All the best to you. All the best to Austin as well as he prepares for his mixed martial arts return for the LFA and safe travels to Abu Dhabi, Paige. Thank you again.
Thanks so much. Yep. Bye.